Okay, so back again here for another niche video. Now, before you click off this video thinking that the niche is too vague or too broad, then stick with it because I get very specific with this niche. However, this is something that is specific to the UK store and is selling very well on the UK store. And I only come across this recently, but I think it is actually possibly one of the best niches that I have found to date. Now, this is going to sound very simple to begin with, but the niche is football. So by football, I mean soccer for anyone that's watching from the United States, as in the round ball and not the egg-shaped one. And football is incredibly popular in the UK. However, when it comes to selling books on Amazon, we can actually find some football related books for kids that are incredibly good sellers. And with anything that I show in these videos, I make sure that these books are something that you can either outsource for a low price or something that you can do yourself. And in this video, I'm going to show you some paid software at some point that I think could really help you make some of these books. But again, it's up to you whether you decide to go this route or not. I just think that this niche and the sub niches within it are so strong at the moment that I think this is worth investing a tiny bit of money into. So the first niche that I found, and specifically the keywords here that I think are really important, are football activity books. So let's go ahead and find these on amazon.co.uk. Obviously, football in the UK is much more popular than soccer in America, okay? So football activity book. Okay, so right off the bat here, whilst I start searching for football activity book, I can see that not only are people searching for it, but they're actually searching for variations within this niche as well. So for example, we can see people are literally searching for football activity book for kids aged 6 to 12, football activity book for kids, for adults, football activity book age 4 for boys, kids 9 to 12, age 6, and for men. So for me, I think it's going to be easier and it's much more popular that we target kids as opposed to adults, because kids books are simplistic. They're supposed to be simplistic for the kids, obviously, and therefore that makes it much easier for us to have made. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these activity books. So activity books here, they're going to be things like, they're going to be a mixture of activities, obviously, things like coloring pages, mazes, word searches, crosswords, dot to dot, etc. So when you do your niche research, it's always a good idea to see how well the front page of these books are selling. So for me, let's go ahead and just look through the first page of the UK search results for football activity book. So specifically football activity book, I don't want to look at anything that isn't very specifically called football activity book. And I'll show you what I mean by that. And I'll show you why I think this niche is very strong at the moment. So the rankings here we can see are very low, 2,800, 21,000. And if you don't use this tool already where it shows you the ranking of the books on the front page, it's called DS Amazon Quick View. It's an extension that you can use for Chrome or Edge. I'm currently using Edge for some reason, but you can use it for either, and I recommend 100% that you get this free extension for it. It just makes life a lot easier and you can do your niche research very quickly. So let's scroll through these football activity books here. We always want to make sure that these are independently published. So independently published, it's ranked really well. That's the first book. It's a coloring book. Activity book ranked very well. Activity book with only 25 reviews ranked very well. Now you need to bear in mind that 53,000 ranked in the UK store isn't as good as 53,000 ranked in the .com store, just because .com store is much bigger than the UK one. However, I can assure you that 53,000 ranking in the .co.uk store is still making lots of sales every single month with this book. Okay, so we can already see that the keyword football activity book is something that people are searching for, and they're also searching for variants of this book, as we can see as well. And we've checked the front page and we can see that the rankings are low and therefore good for this niche. And the next thing that I found to be a really good indicator of whether you can actually compete with these people and start making sales is to see how relevant the keyword that you're searching for is across the first few pages of Amazon. So what I mean by that is how many of these listings are specifically football activity books within the first 3 pages. So obviously the first page is going to have the majority of them. There's quite a few activity books here, but even on the first page you can see that some other like puzzle books and maths books are creeping, coloring books. These aren't specifically activity books. And if we start going on to the second and third pages here, we can ignore the sponsored ones. We can see that there's only two on the second page that are specifically football activity book, and there's probably not going to be many on the third page at all. There's a soccer activity book which is not marketed correctly because this should be football activity book. I don't know why they've put soccer, but yeah, as you can see, like, it's dying off already. The competition dies off after the first page of activity. You know, as we go toward the bottom of these pages, we even have books here that aren't even related whatsoever. So for me, looking at this in terms of competition, I know that this keyword is selling well. I know that people are searching for it. They're searching for variations of it, and you know, they're not. Amazon isn't packed full of these at the moment. Like, it just has a few on the first 2 pages of it. So for me, this is one of the strongest looking niches that I've come across so far. And what's great is that if you have multiple books made, multiple football activity books for kids made, you can target different ages within this as well. So when we came up here, we could see that people were searching for 6 to 12 year olds, 9 to 12 year olds, 7 to 9 year olds, 5 year olds, 4 year olds, 9 to 12 year olds. Okay. And they're also targeting boys as well. So I think when it comes to targeting a gender, especially in 2021, it's a very iffy subject for some people. In fact, I've seen people upload unicorn coloring books for girls, and then in the comments you'll have people saying, "Oh, I didn't realize this was just for girls. I'm so sorry that my boys can't enjoy this book." So like sarcastic 1-star comments. People are a little bit touchy over that. I don't see anything wrong with it, but again, if you want to be more specific with who you target here, you could target just boys, because more boys play football than girls do. It's just a fact. Okay, so with activity books, we're going to be looking at things inside these books, such as coloring pages, words such as crosswords, mazes, and then of course they all have to be football themed as well. So you can have these outsourced from upwork.com, which is what I would typically recommend that you do. However, you might be thinking to yourself, you know, to have a full book of, let's say, how many pages are we looking at here? 64 pages of activities. That could cost you a fair bit of money. So what my recommendation here is that you could outsource some of this book, and you could do some of it yourself, and you could use the paid software that I'm going to show you in just a second to do other parts of it. So with this activity book niche, you don't necessarily have to have it all done in one place, because it's a variety of activities. They're going to be different. So obviously a coloring page is going to look considerably different to a word search page. The paid software that I have just recently found, and I'm not going to affiliate myself with it, you can decide if you want to ever use this at some point, which is around $20 per month. It's called puzzlepublishers.com, and you can do things in here such as create the dot to dots, you can create the word searches, you can create where is it, sorry, you can create the mazes, whatever the graphical search things are. There's quite a lot that you can do in here. Mainly for me, I'd only be using it for the word searches and the dot to dot for these activities, but it's such an easy tool to use, and I don't think I'll have time to show you all of it in this video, but just know that you can make these very simply with this software. And if you do want a separate video on showing you inside the Puzzle Publishers website, then I can make one and give you some examples of what you can make and how quickly you can make them, and how you can make full books out of these as well. But again, it's just going to be an extremely long video if I show you in this one. But yeah, that's puzzlepublishers.com. Up to you whether you fancy trying that or not. Okay, so one of the other big activities in these type of books are spot the difference pictures. So I don't know about you, but I can't design these type of pictures. I can't have this made in Canva myself, and I feel like it would cost a lot of money to have all of these outsourced. However, what you can do is to have one of these pictures outsourced and then edit the other one yourself. So for example, you could just have a very simple picture. You know, you only need to have maybe 5 of each activity in the book. So you could outsource 5 simple pictures like this here, and then edit the second part of them yourself. So for example, if you can see my cursor here, and I think you probably know what a spot the difference picture is, but you can see here you have the 2 lines on the drawing shorts, and in the next picture you just have one of those lines gone. So that's the difference between, or that's one of the differences. And you can do this yourself if you have, you can use free software just to erase one of these lines, and then that's, you don't have to have your outsourcer create both pictures and possibly cost you more money. But what you could do if you are outsourcing it on Upwork.com is to just ask if the person can make this picture and then erase a couple of the details to make your second picture here. So there is definitely a way that you can do this quite cheap. And then when it comes to things like the mazes, the crosswords, or anything dot to dot, things like that, you can use the software that I've showed you, or again, you can just outsource it. Now, there's one thing that I do need to recommend that you don't ever do when it comes to making crosswords and word searches, that I think I've seen other people do on YouTube, is recommend that people go over to Google and they'll type in things like free crossword or free word search generator. Now, I think if you actually use these pieces of software, that you don't actually have the right to sell what you create. Now, it's always a risky thing to do, and I think a lot of people are doing it. And for me, like, I can't bring myself to do anything like that, obviously, because I want to keep my Amazon account in good standing. So with the puzzle publishers software here, that it does disclose that you have full resale rights of anything that you create. And so for $20 a month, and how easy these are to use, it is absolutely worth it for me to use this instead of just using the free online generators, which you're not allowed to use anyway. Okay, so that's the first football niche here, and I think this is the strongest one that I'm going to show in this video, but it is worth sticking around to see the other ones because they're very interesting and very unique as well. And obviously I can't share with you 100% of what you should put inside these books here, because you need to go and find those things yourself and decide what you can have made and what you can make within your budget and skill set as well. Okay, so the next sub niche here that I've come across is football maths books. Now, this is going to be quite popular in the UK at the moment because kids aren't at school, and even when they do go back to school, I do think that these will be quite popular because I think it's an interesting and fun way for the kid to sort of supplement their homework and what they've learned at school without making it too boring. So especially young guys, they absolutely love football here in the UK. So anything that helps a parent's child learn their maths whilst enjoying football at the same time is going to be a winner for people in the UK. So as you can see, for the front page of Amazon on this searches, we have some very low rankings here. Again, they're selling pretty well, and once again, you can target different age groups with these. And with these interiors, I can't think of a way that you can have this done other than outsourcing them on Upwork.com. So inside these books, again, we have very simple interiors, but it's not something I can do. I would have this outsourced, and it's just going to be maths related work pages that are football themed. So as you can see here, this one's you add up the cost of this starting 11 football team, and then the child writes in the total cost at the bottom here. Okay, so it doesn't stop there with these workbooks and the activity books. There are just so many different types of football related things on Amazon UK that you can get into. So we have things like colouring books, we have things like funny football quotes, which I thought was a really good one, football facts, and with like the football facts and football quotes, you can target different teams in the Premier League. There's all sorts that you can do with the football niche here on Amazon. So I think when it comes to selling anything on Amazon, your keyword research is extremely important. So what I'm going to try and do in these videos from here on is to make a list of what I think are strong keywords for these niches. So let's start with the main one that we covered in this video, which was the activity book. Okay, so some strong keywords that I think are relevant to this book are going to be football activity book, obviously, kids aged, and then whatever your age range is, colouring, mazes, word search, crossword, learn, puzzles, logic, soccer, gift, present, birthday, at home as in learning at home, preschool, workbook. Okay, so there's just a few of the main keywords that I would target when it comes to one, creating the title for the book, and two, using these words that aren't as relevant, ones that aren't as relevant in your back end keywords. So the 7 slots that you see on your listing page, you can put some of these words in as well. Okay, so that's the end of this video. I think this is, like I said, one of my favorite niches for a long time, and I love the fact that it's specific to the UK, and it's going to be popular pretty much all the time because there's not that much break when it comes to the football season. And as soon as the next football season starts up again, it's just going to be more and more popular. So you can always make your books relevant to whatever season we're targeting. So at the moment we're in the 2020-2021 season, I think. I could be wrong with that, but you could target that, and then obviously with next season you can update and make new books for the 21-22 season, etc, etc. Okay, so if you think this is a good niche and you've enjoyed the video, then please go ahead and like and subscribe. There'll be plenty more on the way.